On this 10th and last day of the August 95 retreat, we will read from writings, old and new, teachers and poets. The first selection will be from Wang Po, the writings, Zen writings of Wang Po, which I've been reading from for many, many years, probably from the beginning of my work. The selections that are read are not read to present Wang Po's writings, but to illuminate what we've been talking about. So, sentences, paragraphs, words, or pages are being skipped. Anyone who wants to read Wang Po can get the book. I think we have it in our library. It is translated by John Blofeld. Wang Po was a Zen teacher who lived about 1,000 years ago. And his words, talks, and dialogues were recorded by his scholar-disciple, scholar-governor-disciple, Pe Su. The use of the word Buddha does not refer only to the historical personage of Gautama Buddha, but it refers to absolute truth or an enlightened being. The Master said to me, "All the Buddhas and all sentient beings are nothing but the one mind, beside which nothing exists. This mind, which is without beginning, is unborn and indestructible. It is not green nor yellow and has neither form nor appearance. It does not belong to the categories of things which exist or do not exist, nor can it be thought of in terms of young or old. It is neither long nor short, big nor small, for it transcends all limits, measures, names, traces, and comparisons. It is that which you see before you. Begin to reason about it, and you at once fall into error. It is like the boundless void which cannot be fathomed or measured. The one mind alone is the Buddha, and there is no distinction between the Buddha and sentient beings, but that sentient beings are attached to form, and so they seek externally for Buddhahood. By their very seeking, they lose it. For that is using the Buddha to seek for the Buddha, using mind to grasp mind. Even though they do their utmost for a full eon, they will not be able to attain to it. They do not know that if they put a stop to conceptual thought and forget their anxiety, it will appear before them. For this mind is the Buddha, and Buddha is all living beings. It is not less for being manifested in ordinary beings, nor is it greater for being manifested in the Buddhas. Mind is like the void in which there is no confusion or evil, as when the sun wheels through it, shining upon the four corners of the world. For when the sun rises and illuminates the whole earth, the void gains not in brilliance, and when the sun sets, the void does not darken. The phenomena of light and dark alternate with each other, but the nature of the void remains unchanged. If you look upon the Buddha as presenting a pure, bright, or enlightened appearance, or upon sentient beings as presenting a foul, dark, or mortal-seeming appearance, these conceptions, resulting from attachment to form, will keep you from supreme knowledge, even after the passing of as many eons as there are sands in the Ganges. There's only the one mind, and not a particle of anything else on which to lay hold. Questioner: illusion can hide from us our own mind. Illusion can hide from us our own mind. But up to now, you have not taught us how to get rid of illusion. Wangpo: the arising and the elimination of illusion are both illusory. Illusion is not something rooted in reality. It exists because of your dualistic thinking. If you will only cease to indulge in opposed concepts such as ordinary and enlightened, illusion will cease of itself. And then, if you still want to destroy it, wherever it may be, you will find that there is not a hair's breadth left of anything on which to lay hold. This is the meaning of, quote, I will let go with both hands, for then I shall certainly discover the Buddha or truth in my mind. Once I put this question to the Master: how many of the 400 or 500 people gathered here on this mountain have fully understood Your Reverence's teaching? The Master answered, their number cannot be known. Why? Because my way is through mind awakening. How can it be conveyed in words? Speech only produces some effect when it falls on the uninstructed ears of children. Though others may talk of the way of the Buddhas as something to be reached by various pious practices and scripture study, you must have nothing to do with such ideas. A perception sudden as blinking, that subject and object are one, will lead to a deeply mysterious, wordless understanding. And by this understanding, you will awake to the truth. Your true nature is something never lost to you even in moments of delusion, nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It depends on nothing and is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, spotless beauty. It is the self-existent and uncreated absolute. Absolute meaning dependent on nothing. It is a jewel beyond all price. When a sudden flash of thought occurs in your mind and you see it for a dream or an illusion, then you can enter into the state reached by the Buddhas of the past. Not that the Buddhas of the past really exist, or that the Buddhas of the future have not yet come into existence. Above all, have no longing to become a future Buddha. Your sole concern should be, as thought succeeds thought, to avoid clinging to any of them. A selection from I Am That by Nisargadatta, who died, I believe, in 1983, somewhere around there. Translated by Maurice Friedman. Questioner. Maharaj, you are sitting in front of me, and I am here at your feet. What is the basic difference between us? Nisargadatta, there is no basic difference. Questioner, still there must be some real difference. I come to you, you do not come to me. Nisargadatta, because you imagine differences, you go here and there in search of superior people. Questioner, you too are a superior person. You claim to know the real, while I do not. Nisargadatta, did I ever tell you that you do not know and therefore you are inferior? Let those who invented such distinctions prove them. I do not claim to know what you do not. In fact, I know much less than you do. Questioner, your words are wise, your behavior noble, your grace all-powerful. Nisargadatta, I know nothing about it all and see no difference between you and me. My life is a succession of events just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show, while you stick to things and you move along with them. Questioner, what made you so dispassionate? Nisargadatta, nothing in particular. It so happened that I trusted my guru. He told me I am nothing but myself, and I believed him. Trusting him, I behaved accordingly and ceased caring for what was not me nor mine. Questioner, why were you so lucky to trust your teacher fully, while our trust is nominal and verbal? Nisargadatta, who can say? It happened so. Things happen without cause and reason. And after all, what does it matter who is who? Your high opinion of me is your opinion only. Any moment you may change it. Why attach importance to your opinions? To opinions even your own? Questioner, still you are different. Your mind seems to be always quiet and happy, and miracles happen around you. Nisargadatta, I know nothing about miracles, and I wonder whether nature admits exceptions to her laws. Unless we agree that everything is a miracle. As to my mind, there is no such thing. There is consciousness in which everything happens. This is quite obvious and within the experience of everybody. You just do not look carefully enough. Look well and see what I see. Questioner, what do you see? Nisargadatta. I see what you too could see here and now, but for the wrong focus of your attention. You give no attention to yourself. Your mind is all with things, people, and ideas, never with yourself. Bring yourself into focus, become aware of your existence. See how you function, watch the motives and the results of your actions. Study the prison you have built around yourself by inadvertence. By knowing what you are not, you come to know yourself. One thing is certain, the real is not imaginary. It is not a product of the mind. Once you are convinced that you cannot say truthfully about yourself anything except I am, and that nothing that can be pointed out can be yourself, you're no longer intent on verbalizing what you are. All you need is to get rid of the tendency to define yourself. All definitions apply to your body only and to its extensions. Once this obsession with the body goes, you revert to your natural state, spontaneously and effortlessly. The only difference between us is that I am aware of my natural state while you are bemused. Just like gold made into ornaments has no advantage over gold dust, except when the mind makes it so, so are we one in being. We differ only in appearance. We discover it by being earnest, by searching, inquiring, questioning daily and hourly, by giving one's whole life to this discovery. Some selections from the writings of Krishnamurti, or excerpts from talks. These two are compiled by the Krishnamurti Foundation India. The first selection comes from a talk in Aug. 1940. I personally feel that the world is myself, that what I do creates either peace or sorrow in the world that is myself. And as long as I do not understand myself, I cannot bring peace to the world. So my immediate concern is myself, not selfishly, not merely to alter myself in order to gain greater happiness, greater sensations, greater successes. For as long as I do not understand myself, I must live in pain and sorrow and cannot discover true peace and happiness. And from the Star Bulletin, 1932. The individual problem is the world problem. If the individual has found happiness, has created order within himself, then he will create order in the world around him. And in helping others to solve their own individual problems, he will help to solve the world problems. You think, this is addressing the Theosophical Society, you think that in seeking the liberation of the self, there is the suggestion of egotism. You think that to be eternally happy is a selfish realization. You think that to be free from sorrow and strife is a desertion of the world. This is a misconception. Liberation is the very antithesis of the sense of ego, of I-ness. It is the ultimate realization for all people. An excerpt from a talk by Vimala Thakur given in Dalhousie, India, in 1989, during the summer, so it must have been just as hot, or probably hotter. Vimala Thakur is still alive. She lives and teaches in India. She used to go on speaking and retreat tours to Europe and other countries. We are talking about an alternative way of living, which is a meditative way of living. Acquire knowledge, let it flow through you, let it be utilized in its relevant field without creating the knower, or the thought of the knower. If we look at the roots of all human misery, we will find that misery is built upon our stupidity. We do not know how to relate to the social structures and use them without identification, without creating a sense of authority out of them. Structures are not sacred. It is only life that is sacred. Patterns have no sacredness, whether you create them in the name of religion, spirituality, or politics. It is the pattern-free, structure-free, virgin dynamism of life that is sacred, that is divine. Wherever you have touched it with thought, you have manipulated it, you have structured it. It has a utility, but not sanctity. It has a utility, but no authority. Knowledge itself has no power to bind you. It is the creation of the knower that is the obstacle. You have a beautiful, sensitive body, and the sensitivity gets in touch with its respective objects outside, and they bring sensations. Sensations are converted back to electric impulses, and the brain interprets them. It is a marvelous process of what you call experiencing. Contact with the outside world through the senses, which are very delicate, very tender. It is quite hard and arduous work to keep your sensual system pure, healthy, supple, and elastic. Let the experiences flow through the sensual system. Nothing wrong in a sensual, sexual experience, but you create an experiencer, or thought creates an experiencer, and gets stuck in the experience and its likes and dislikes, its value structures, its preferences, its prejudices, its theories. If the sensual contact with objects is allowed to flow through you without creating an experiencer, and with that the separation, then the limited human-made world cannot corrupt you. As the oneness of life manifesting itself into manyness does not get corrupted, does not lose its vitality, does not get mutilated. In the same way, you acquire knowledge and you appear as an individual playing the role of a father, a brother, a son. You are one appearing as many. There is no identification with the fatherness, the sonness, daughterness, sisterness, and you don't tie so many knots, but play the roles sanely, completely, with the magnificence of an inner equipoise. Then you're appearing as many, functioning as many. You're acquiring the knowledge of structures, and handling of structures shall not corrupt you. That is the way of meditative living. The word meditation has been identified with psychophysical exercises, concentrations, methods, techniques, kundalini, shakti paths. The word has been abused and misused in such a callous way. No authority and no effort. Freedom from authority and freedom from the struggle of efforts. Once you know that these human-made enclosures are only to be lived in, then the sense of comparing yourself with others, he has a palace and I have a hut, he has millions and I only have thousands, the sense of comparison and the ambition for competition disappears. Your economic life becomes simple. No vanity, no pride about your scholarship, erudition, and your social life becomes simple. You do not move around with a begging bowl for sympathy, for acceptance, for prestige, for acknowledgement, and so forth. Can you see with me that effortlessness is the content of silence? Silence is not only sitting still, it is a way of living. Silence is inner, unconditional freedom from the authority of the past. Not from the past, but from the authority of the past. Silence is unconditional freedom from effort, and therefore the alternative way of living. Meditation has no repetition at all. It is moment to moment. In the moment of relating, you are living. In the moment of aloneness, you're dying. It is living and dying, like inhaling and exhaling. To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody, of being something. Is not that the content of death and dying? To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody. Sinner, saint, holy, respectable, knowledgeable, rich, and so forth. To be alone is to die to being something according to the definition of society, according to the value structure of religions. Physically isolating yourself may not lead you to the aloneness. It may or it may not. That is what we're afraid of, dying to the sense of being somebody. Dying to all the images you have built up around yourself is being alone. The way we are tackling the theme may be unusual, unheard of to many. It is a non-conventional way, a non-traditional approach. But I am really grateful that life brings you and me together. All of these selections were abbreviated, excerpted. Now to the poets, starting with Zen poetry of Ryokan, One Robe, One Bowl, translated by John Stevens. Light sleep, the bane of old age. Dozing off, evening dreams, waking again. The fire in the hearth flickers. All night a steady rain pours off the banana tree. Now is the time I wish to share my feelings. But there is no one. The vicissitudes of this world are like the movement of the clouds. 50 years of life are nothing but one long dream. Sparse rain, my desolate hermitage at night. Quietly I clutch my robe and lean against the empty window. Ryokan was a monk, a hermit, living in the mountains of Japan in the mid-18th century. The night is fresh and cool. Staff in hand, I walk through the gate. Wisteria and ivy grow together along the winding mountain path. Birds sing quietly in their nests, and a monkey howls nearby. As I reach a high peak, a village appears in the distance. The old pines are full of poems. I bend down for a drink of pure spring water. There's a gentle breeze, and the round moon hangs overhead. Standing by a deserted building, I pretend to be a crane, softly floating among the clouds. Today's begging is finished. At the crossroads, I wander by the side of Hachiman Shrine, talking with some children. Last year, a foolish monk. This year, no change. Once again, the children and I are fighting a battle using spring grasses, now advancing, now retreating, each time with more refinement. Twilight, everyone has returned home. The bright, round moon helps me endure the loneliness. Listening to the evening rain in my hermitage, the great way? I braid spring flowers into a ball. The future? If a visitor brings these questions, I have only the tranquility of the hermitage to offer. An evening dream. Everything must have been an illusion. I cannot explain clearly even one part of what I saw. Yet in the dream it seemed as if the truth were right in front of my eyes. This morning, awake, is it not the same dream? A thief has stolen my mat and cushion. Why did he break into my hermitage? The door is never locked. The night is ending, and I sit alone by the window. A sparse rain falls gently against the bamboo grove. In the distance, frogs croak in the mountain rice fields, the evening's single song. Unable to sleep, I hear the voice of a young deer rising from the mountain ridge. I stretch out for a nap in my little hut. In the fields, frogs chant their songs, and the birds in the bamboo grove sing along. The bamboo grove in front of my hut. Every day I see it 1,000 times, yet never tire of it. Back and forth all day, the bent old man carries water for the parched rice seedlings. Lying on my grass pillow, dreaming about this dream world again, lonely, fitful sleep. As I watch the children happily playing, without realizing it, my eyes fill with tears. Thinking about the people in this floating world far into the night, my sleeve is wet with tears. The thief left it behind, the moon, at the window. A very brief excerpt from Rainer Maria Rilke, Letters to a Young Poet, translated by Herter Norton. This was written in Sweden, August 1904. I want to talk to you again a while, dear Mr. Kappus. Although I can say almost nothing that is helpful, hardly anything useful. You have had many and great sadnesses which passed. And you say that even this passing was hard for you and put you out of sorts. But please, consider whether these great sadnesses have not rather gone right through the center of yourself. whether much in you has not altered, whether you have not somewhere at some point of your being undergone a change while you were sad. Only those sadnesses are dangerous and bad which one carries about among people in order to drown them out, like sicknesses that are superficially and foolishly treated. They simply withdraw and after a little pause break out again the more dreadfully and accumulate within one and are life unlived, spurned lost life. Were it possible for us to see further than our knowledge reaches, and yet a little way beyond the outworks of our divining, perhaps we would endure our sadnesses with greater confidence than our joys. For they are the moments when something new enters into us, something unknown. Our feelings grow mute in shy perplexity. Everything in us withdraws. A stillness comes, and the new, which no one knows, stands in the midst of it and is silent. A few selections from the contemporary poet Mary Oliver. First one is from White Pine. And it is called Work. How beautiful this morning was Pasture Pond. It had lain in the dark all night, catching the rain on its broad back. All day I work with the linen of words and the pins of punctuation. All day I hang out over a desk, grinding my teeth, staring, then I sleep. Then I come out of the house, even before the sun is up, and walk back through the pine woods to Pasture Pond. House of Light is the name of the book. The poem is The Kingfisher. The kingfisher rises out of the black wave like a blue flower. In his beak he carries a silver leaf. I think this is the prettiest world so long as you don't mind a little dying. How could there be a day in your whole life that doesn't have its splash of happiness? There are more fish than there are leaves on 1,000 trees. And anyway, the kingfisher wasn't born to think about it or anything else. When the wave snaps shut over his blue head, the water remains water. Hunger is the only story he has ever heard in his life that he could believe. I don't say he is right, neither do I say he is wrong. Religiously, he swallows the silver leaf with its broken red river. And with a rough and easy cry I couldn't rouse out of my thoughtful body if my life depended on it, he swings back over the bright sea to do the same thing. To do it as I long to do something, anything, perfectly. The notebook. 6 a.m. The small pond turtle lifts its head into the air like a green toe. It looks around. What it sees is the whole world swirling back from darkness, a red sun rising over the water, over the pines, and the wind lifting, and the water striders heading out, and the white lilies opening their happy bodies. The turtle doesn't have a word for any of it. The silky water or the enormous blue morning, or the curious affair of its own body. On the shore, I am so busy scribbling and crossing out, I almost miss seeing him paddling away through the wet black forest. More and more the moments come to me. How much can the right word do? Now a few of the lilies are a faint flamingo inside their white hearts, and there's still time to let the last roses of the sunrise float down into my uplifted eyes. New and selected poems by Mary Oliver. The sun. Have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way the sun every evening, relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon and into the clouds or the hills, or the rumpled sea, and is gone? And how it slides again out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world, like a red flower streaming upward on its heavenly oils. Say, on a morning in early summer, at its perfect imperial distance. And have you ever felt for anything such wild love? Do you think there is anywhere in any language a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out as it warms you, as you stand there, empty-handed? Or have you too turned from this world? Or have you too gone crazy for power, for things? Another one about the sun. That'll be our last one. Sunrise. Since we've lived with that for 10 days. You can die for it, an idea, or the world. People have done so brilliantly, letting their small bodies be bound to the stake, creating an unforgettable fury of light. But this morning, climbing the familiar hills in the familiar fabric of dawn, I thought of China and India and Europe. And I thought how the sun blazes for everyone just so joyfully as it rises under the lashes of my own eyes. And I thought, I am so many. What is my name? What is the name of the deep breath I would take over and over for all of us? Call it whatever you want. It is happiness. It is another one of the days to enter fire. Just one more. Singapore. In Singapore, in the airport, a darkness was ripped from my eyes. In the women's restroom, one compartment stood open. A woman knelt there washing something in the white bowl. Disgust argued in my stomach, and I felt in my pocket for my ticket. A poem should always have birds in it, kingfishers, say, with their bold eyes and gaudy wings. Rivers are pleasant, and of course, trees. A waterfall, or if that's not possible, a fountain rising and falling. A person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. When the woman turned, I could not answer her face. Her beauty and her embarrassment struggled together, and neither could win. She smiled and I smiled. What kind of nonsense is this? Everybody needs a job. Yes, a person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. But first, we must watch her as she stares down at her labor, which is dull enough. She's washing the tops of the airport ashtrays, as big as hubcaps, with a blue rag. Her small hands turn the metal, scrubbing and rinsing. She does not work slowly nor quickly, but like a river. Her dark hair is like the wing of a bird. I don't doubt for a moment that she loves her life. And I want her to rise up from the crust and the slop and fly down to the river. This probably won't happen, but maybe it will. If the world were only pain and logic, who would want it? Of course it isn't. Neither do I mean anything miraculous, but only the light that can shine out of a life. I mean the way she unfolded and refolded the blue cloth, the way her smile was only for my sake. I mean the way this poem is filled with trees and birds. We'll end here for today.